Hello, welcome, happy Sunday, and happy Labor Day weekend. I will not have a Labor Day weekend, as traditionally celebrated among Americans. I will be working all day. I think I teach almost 6 hours straight tomorrow, unless students cancel because it's Labor Day. But they said they'd be there, and I will be there for them, and I don't mind because I like working. Let me go ahead and take this banner down. That's an older track, Primitive Supposition, still good. And just one real word to the chat, just for a second. Um, yeah, I'm always open to discussion with different things and different ideas. But if we can keep the language just a little bit cleaner, um, even if we have really good points, we want to keep the language just a little bit cleaner regarding what had been said. so, so I may put you on timeout just for that, or at least removed. But actually, I didn't mean to ban. Okay, so what had happened just now was Fitzjose's Corner. I didn't mean to ban you. I think that might have been a YouTube thing. I just put you on timeout. But you're more than welcome to come back when you can. You made a really good point, but the language was a little bit stronger than I may allow on this channel. Censorship! No, I'm not censoring. I'm just selecting. All right. I hope you guys are doing well today. So you guys do make a lot of really good points, and I'm always happy to have you guys as part of the discussion. And we're going to discuss about art and consumerism in particular. And I realize that this is kind of a multifaceted discussion. I'm not going to cover all the bases in one stream today. I think this may be just a topic we explore today and also in the future. Some honest discussions, things that I've always observed in the last, or I have always observed in the last 2 or 3 years, even with people I really admire and respect, but I might be approaching art in a different way. And I still admire and respect several people in the artistic indie artist space, but I think people are just looking about it in a different way than I am. So what is that? Well, we'll look in the chat first, and then we'll get into the topic. It's one of those days where my mind is really crowded and hyper distracted, so we're just going to cover a few bases today. That just for my sake and for your sake. I don't want to keep rambling on. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So Ghost Planet is in, and you bring up that it is. I'll just go ahead and bring this up because I grew up with Flintstones. Happy birthday to the Flintstones that turned 65 today. It's airing an anniversary marathon. Oh, cool, on MeTV Tunes. Not really sure about that platform, but that's cool. Yes, I think Flintstones is great. I think it's a wonderful show. If we're talking about the Hanna-Barbera, I'd never seen further adaptations. I mean, I like the crossover between Flintstones and Jetsons, the movie. That was a great movie. That was a great movie. But yeah, I grew up with the Hanna-Barbera, Flintstones, and Jetsons quite a bit. Yeah, good times, good memories. Private Eye is also in, and Brian Gilmartin, you say trap, huh? I wonder what kind of trap. I have no idea. We had Prof's birthday is this coming week, so we had a nice little special dinner with his mom today, and I thought it was gonna be later, so that's why I scheduled it 15 minutes earlier. But then we had it before the stream, so we're all good. We're all good with timing. But it's getting darker earlier, and after the stream, and so yeah, ending it around 7. Hopefully, we'll see how much I have to say, how much you guys have to say. Stinky is with us. Nice to see you. Crystal Ashes says, "Ahoy, friendos." Oh wait, I need to start pulling up the members. Might not be too active tonight, but I'll chime in if I have something intelligent to say. Well, we always appreciate your input into the discussion, so thank you. Adega Outlaw says hi as well. I hope you're doing really well with your writing endeavors. And George Barrett, 3 minutes in and made it on time. Hello everyone. Yeah, and then yeah, Crystal Ashes has the moon, which I think I can't remember what I put for what. Neptune, the moon, and the neon green planet that Prof has, I think is the longest. Oops, there's the cable there. The longest running members. So that's cool. Ready for those truth bombs? Yeah, it might be an honest discussion. Audio sounds good too. That's good. Um, let's see, a little bit of chatting between y'all. Samuel Proctor is in, and he wants to bring up a very important point. Well, it is a censorship of sort, personal censorship more specifically, which I have no problem with. Your channel, your rules. Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, part of it is if there are certain words in chats and stuff, it could raise some red flags. And you know, the thing is, like, I don't prefer strong. You know, some channels that I listen to, they have like swear words and they say stuff that I'm like, whoa. Well, that's your channel, so that's your chat. And then for me, it's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't talk about it in this way. Express it in express the idea because it was a good idea in different words. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think channel like I think people and I think people generally understand this, but like the channel is your living room or you're hosting people in your house, and so like okay, if you don't speak in this kind of language, then maybe the guests will more or less mimic you. And honestly, I think that's like basic decorum. But not every channel's like that, so I just didn't mean to. I didn't mean to ban him. I just timed him out. So my apologies. I'll look into that after the stream. Because Fitzjoseph's Corner is a good dude. All right. Let's see. Samuel Proctor's also bringing up, you do something similar with the VidAngel app. Never heard of it. Makes personal cuts to parts of movies that I would rather not see. And it's only for me. I'm not imposing it on anyone else. Yeah, that's a good thing. Let's see. I think the most recent incarnation of the Flintstones, it was the Christmas Carol film in the 90s. Maybe. Maybe they had the live action, but I can't remember when that was made. Hello, Amy L. And I think that's everyone. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about art and consumerism because we are in the manic age, or the age rather, of the manic consumer. Just some thoughts. This is more a discussion of revelation and self-assessment. I mean, I love my prof. He listens to when I have to reevaluate things, you know, speculate and reevaluate and, you know, assess and reassess. Oh, Fitzjoseph's Corner's back. Okay, good. I'm glad you're back. Live action also was in the 90s. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so let's talk about, again, because we're in this space, either like I'm in this space, in some respect, Professor Geek is in this space with his short story writing, and you guys are all in this space as aspiring writers and authors yourselves, and we want to every so often speculate what's going on in the independent artist space. And that is, well, I guess we can use I hate to always go back to this example, but I see it mostly in the indie comic space. But this can actually apply to any art form, using any art medium if you're an independent artist. So, but because I see it in the indie comic space, and I think actually this would be a really good example for a not a cautionary tale, like a telltale sign of how things are. So what am I talking about? In the age of consumerism, how should artists navigate making art? And I'll just start it with this. A YouTuber that I have quite a lot of respect for is in the pursuing this endeavor of creating indie comics. Comics with stories that involve the heroic archetypes and Platonic ideas, and maybe just using those keywords, you probably know who I'm talking about. And I was listening to a stream of his last week, and he was talking about always trying to get things done fast enough. And he was actually bouncing back and forth between what he was thinking to what the chat was saying. And a lot of people in his chat are of the mind, get it, get your product out as fast as possible. We talked about art and product, or art versus product. It's all about getting your comics out and your comic stories out as fast as possible. And this person in his chat used the specific word expedient. This is expedient for you as an independent artist. And actually what expediency means is actually, it can mean cutting corners to get stuff out as convenient as possible. And when it comes to expediency, I sort of think of like an industrial mass production type setting. I don't really think of art in stories, and so I started thinking about this more and more, especially in the comic space, because I think a lot, and I would fall into the same trap. I think a lot of these people who are pursuing indie comics, because I'm also kind of pursuing I'm also thinking about it in the light of writing stories and stuff, but people who I do respect who are pursuing comics, that they're trying to produce comics in a way that is mirroring their childhood experience. So what does that mean? Well, with things like DC and Marvel and all those different publications, well, yeah, you got your issue all the time. You got a new issue frequently, monthly issue. I don't know how the publication worked in the comic space, but you got your entertainment quite frequently in the age that is the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, if you're a kid in that time. I was a 90s kid. I didn't read comics at the time, but you got your toys, you got your comics, you got your shirts, you got your lunch boxes, so you're kind of, as an independent artist now, you kind of think along those lines. And the more I was thinking about it, the more I want to avoid this mindset to get things as fast as possible. It's not to say I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop working and all. But when you're like, oh, you got to be expedient, you got to get your books out to a customer base all the time. It's a product, it's a product, it's a product. It's like, well, maybe comics with Marvel and DC was, especially with merchandise and toys and stuff like that, maybe it was a product, and maybe the business guys behind, Warner Brothers and Marvel and all that, maybe they did think of comics purely on the merchandise front or purely as a product. But even going into a story, like a graphic novel story like Batman's The Long Halloween, it's an artistic experience. It's a book. It's a thick book. It's an artistic experience. You appreciate the art, and then also not just The Long Halloween, but the trilogy of those books that, the two subsequent stories that followed that story, that specific story. And I'm thinking from my own experience, recent experience, reading those kind of comic books, I'm thinking that's kind of what I would think of as an independent artist, to have something masterfully done, even if it is not put out there on such a frequent basis. Because I do see the independent artists falling into this trap. Oh, that's what you mean by trap, Brian Gilmartin. Yeah, because that's in my description. I get, I'm starting to see people fall into this trap of, well, Marvel and DC did it this way, and they catered to my childhood experience of reading comics every week, every month, issue after issue. Well, I'm going to do the same thing. And I think that's actually a good frame of mind. You could start from there. But Professor Geek and I, and that is, who are these indie comic book writers writing for? Are they writing for children, or are they writing for adults? Because people in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and beyond, they would appreciate the comic book experience, and even more, they would appreciate the kind of that mass production line, like crank it out, put it on the conveyor belt, just crank it out, give it to me every month, give it to me every year. I think people in their 40s and on, or maybe 30s and on, could appreciate that experience. But I hear a lot of people in the indie comic space, they say, I'm writing for kids. I'm writing for kids. And Professor Geek just brought up the horrible, hard, cold truth that kids do not, as a matter of fact, read comic books. Now, I'm not saying there are no kids out there who don't read or who read comic books. There are possibly a few exceptions. There are parents who get the kids reading comic book and graphic novels, but it can't be this mass production output level thinking anymore because we're not in that age anymore. Kids are not reading comic books like they did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, or even before that. And I wonder if the indie comic book creators have this in mind, have this realization in mind. Now, am I saying that these independent comic book creators should not write stories for children? No, absolutely not. I might have to close the door. 1 second. 1 second. I hear something. Something beautiful. 1 sec. Let me adjust this real quick. I have to. I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted. 1 second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. But yeah, we were talking about the indie comics creator scene. They're trying to get that's their mindset. They're like, well, Marvel and DC did it this way. This is the model we need to follow, and that would be applicable. I think that would be valid. Even I think that's a legitimate frame of mind if you had the audience base that you saw yourself as a kid in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And and this kind of ties in with creating art, for your sake in making good art. Um, I'm sorry. I do feel I do apologize, but I'm a little distracted today. I've been distracted all day, to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and just read through the comments and see what you guys have to say, and then I'll try to piece my mind together because it's all I know what I want to say, but it's just a whole thing of assortment of thoughts. I just need to coalesce as one thing. So I apologize. This might not be my strongest day. All right. So Brian Gilmartin presents, I can understand wanting to work faster to improve your output. Sometimes I feel like I take way too long to finish a picture that a true master could produce a lot more quickly. Well, I might come back to that point because I wouldn't want to discourage you, Brian, or any other to just really invest in your workflow. So maybe you can't output something like the main pros can output, in the time they can. And I think that's okay at your stage of art making. I'm actually finding that for myself where it's like, dang, the stuff that I want to do is taking way too long. And I'm starting to see it's like, well, maybe this is just the stage in my life where I'm just building skills to have a good workflow. I'm hopelessly eclectic. I have various interests and all of that. And things just, man, they take so much time. And I'm balancing that. It's a balancing act. All right. Actually, this shows this corner. You mentioned you weren't alive in the 90s, so it doesn't affect you. We're gonna talk about that because you've grown up in the consumer, like the hyper manic consumer culture. Samuel Proctor says The Long Halloween was originally a monthly series of issues compiled together as a single paperback. Thank you for bringing that up because I didn't know that, and maybe Professor Geek has talked about that before. But I like it as a compilation. Yeah. So I guess every month of that was a part of the series. That would make sense. All right. Samuel Proctor says, I can confirm my friends and I didn't read comics as kids and teens. We watched the movies. You would occasionally read one every blue moon. Yeah. Brian Gilmartin says, kids don't read comics like they used to. Writers looking to capture that audience have a big hill to climb if they want to reach the kids. And this is, let's actually, thank you. You guys are helping me collect my thoughts. That's where I wanted to talk about. And yes, we're working in I'm using the example as the indie comic space, but I think that's where creating masterpieces, even if it takes a long time in this hyper manic consumer culture, because I think these indie artists who I respect are a lot like me, thinking we just got to get it out fast enough. We got to get it out so people can have their fill of music, their fill of stories, their fill of comics. You know, maybe not considering that we're in the age of constant, like this, we've developed, all of us, no matter how old or how young you are, we've developed this insatiable appetite just to keep going through all this content, including art pieces. I talked about, one time where a YouTuber by the name of Venus Theory was very disheartened. He was very discouraged when his documentary Crossing the States, he published like a music documentary, going with his friend crossing the United States, and then he posted a beautiful documentary. He posted it on YouTube, and he didn't get like the views that he had hoped because he was trying to put something artful, something artistic in this frame, this platform that is meant for consumption. I'm not saying you shouldn't put your art out there for YouTube. I'm starting to document my own works, my original works, as a form of documentation, as a form of archiving, but as a standalone piece, unless it's a video performance of a piece of music. And I've seen wonderfully done music videos. Unless it's that format, I would actually just offer my art piece on a separate platform, like a website or a specific platform for that specific art form. And I wonder if people are missing the boat. This constant, I've got to consume, I've got to consume, I've got to consume. Okay, I like this guy, he's making this comic book and he's going to make it in a series. And I feel like people might not understand that that's a very tiring experience. And again, I think we will cover this. It is so multifaceted. I have so many thoughts. And I might just kind of keep the stream at just a very informal discussion, because I honestly think I'm not presenting my thoughts clear, and I think it's just because it's so multifaceted. So let's continue on down. Samuel Proctor says the closest thing was reading the Calvin Hobbes collection and the Bone Trade paperbacks in the elementary school library. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and I'm glad they had that in your school library. There was one exception for me. There was a 52 from the 80s, the back of Spider-Man Encyclopedia I loved. It was the first appearance of the symbiote suit. Nice. So you have that memory. That's good. So, all right. Hello, Big Al. Good to see you, channel member. Thank you. Hopefully you're having a lovely day. Lovely day. I am. It's just hyper distracted. If you guys knew what was going on in my brain, it's like these wires just going all around, and that's just part of my life. Crystal Ashes says, the kids that visit the library usually don't bother with superhero comics. They read manga and stuff like Sonic's comics. Yeah, it's a different it's a different experience. You're right about that. So the East Asian experience is different from the American experience. That is true. Yeah, I wonder if it would behoove the American indie comics to. I'm not saying they have to do in the art style of manga, but the way it's presented might be. But again, see, American comics is a very specific type of sequential art, so I can understand wanting to keep to that very specific art form because I like it. I like it. I like well done indie comics, and I love DC. I haven't gotten into Marvel yet, but I really do love DC. All right, looks like Brian is asking Crystal Ashes something. Let me grab a swig of water. So I think just kind of going back to the indie comics scene, if these people, if it would behoove them, if it would like spiritually and emotionally benefit them to just focus on making the stories that they like as separate masterpieces, not as something issue after issue or feeling complete pressure to get it rolling out on the conveyor belt because we're simply not in that age anymore. We're not in an age where that's a viable thing for that specific art form. It is a little different with me. It's a little different with Adega Outlaw because we write science fiction and he writes dark fantasy. And science fiction and dark fantasy, yes, you can present it to a young demographic like with children, but my science fiction actually is going to be 18 and up. I'm not saying there's anything graphic or violent or but it's just deep. It's a the sci-fi that I write is meant to pertain to an epic of sorts. It's meant to be for the older reader who can understand a little bit more depth. I'm not saying kids can't read it, but if I had like a student who's like 14, oh, can I read it? I think some stuff would just be over their head because it's 14-year-old. You know, you remember how you were at 14. You think differently than 28 or, you know, 48 or whatever like that. So I think Adega and Professor Geek, especially with his fantasy writing and his short stories, we have a little bit of that wiggle room. We have that flexibility where we wouldn't feel like we have to just like keep pumping out content after content. But I can imagine falling into that trap, just as an independent writer. Like I was kind of thinking about this, like even with my own publication. I was hoping to publish about 5 science fiction stories this year, and we're in September. And I have really felt a huge sense of restlessness because of that. And I do have to let things go. And I wonder if it's like, why do I feel like I need to do it all in one year? Like 5 stories in one year, or 10 stories in 2 years, or get my first long form sci fi novel by the time I'm 40. And I wonder if it's because of this culture we live in where everything has to be done at a certain stage in your life, or everything has to be done in a certain amount of, in a certain time. Like you have this threshold, you have this window, you don't have a lot of time left. And that's where I am really finding myself struggling. And maybe you guys feel it. Like if you guys have the same struggle, let me know. Do you feel the pressure? I wish I had my prof's disposition. He feels no pressure. He's going to write when he writes. He's going to work in music when he works in music, and he does not have that struggle. And I think I have to train myself to not have that struggle. And I'm saying this feeling the struggle right now in real time as you're watching me. And that's actually part of why I'm feeling so distracted today. I've been kind of wrestling with just it's like, oh no, it's September tomorrow. I'm not gonna get the stuff out I want to. It's like it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the stressing over. And that's why I decided in the way of music to document my stuff on YouTube just to keep the process going, but not feeling like I have to like complete it in one sitting. And it's been a hopeless struggle for me for my writing, my super collider, my composing original music in Logic Pro, it has been a real battle. And maybe I'm just confessing that, and maybe this stream is just a thing of catharsis for me. So so what's we'll we'll continue on from the indie comics, but the comic book creators who are independent, they treat their art and stories like a product. Now, if you find that balance of creating multiple masterpieces and making a business selling it and having happy customers and a happy readership or listeners, people who listen to your music, wonderful. I'm so glad you have that. A lot of people who have jobs and families and stuff like that will have to balance that in a little bit of a different way. And I hope the balance is there. I hope that balance can exist where you can output masterpieces to the best of your ability. But my goal is the masterpiece, like whatever I'm working with, writing or music. I want these to be little masterpieces. They don't have to, they may never be masterpieces, but that's my endeavor. And they come out when they come out. But when people use words like expediency and output and different things like that, I start to wonder, well, are they seeing their works as art, something to take their time in, or are they seeing it as a product? Now, if they see their stories as a product and they think of things like merchandising and toy making and different things like that, I'm not criticizing. I'm not complaining. My speculation is I think some people don't realize they're not seeing it like that. Like, I got to tell epic timeless stories. I'm like, well, epic timeless stories will take an epic amount of time. It's just the nature of it. And then who's your audience? Because children, if it is for children, you have to see who are the children today. It's a huge difference between children today and children in the 1980s. There's just an infinite amount more available to them in the way of entertainment. And yeah, it'd be nice to have a renaissance. It'd be nice to see not just children, but people go back to the longer form of entertainment, the novel, the movie, the play. And I try to instill that to my students and try to kind of get them, and some of my students actually do have that sensibility, but it's a matter of cultivating that sensibility to that younger generation, because I hate to bring it up because everyone else brings it up, but it is that fast scroll form TikTok format. Like, you gotta get them engaged, and the only thing that will really get people of all over the world, of all demographics, of all ages, to get them engaged is to create something that is jaw-dropping. It does not have to be every product or project. That's what I meant to say. But to allow yourself a lot of time and a lot of grace, especially as you course through life. And before I get into the chat, again, I'm starting to find that I'm at the stage where I'm just building my workflow. You know how some people, like, who are in their 60s and 70s, they can just whip out a piece of art so fast, or a piece of music so fast, and they haven't plateaued. They haven't regressed with the passage of time. They've gotten better and better at what they're doing. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I wish I could be like that, but I'm not like that. Like, I do have to accept that things take 3 or 4 or 5 times longer than the professional I aim to be. And so this stream is more of a confession. I'll probably be a little bit more organized with my, not that I need bullet points, but just talking about this. Maybe this will be part 1 in the age of consumerism, the manic consumer, because people really just do like to. I think people are, they like to consume content more than the art. Professor Geek talks about consume stories responsibly, and I think people have to learn that now. It has to be something that is cultivated. Oh, Lance the Film Guy, you say correction. So this is from last week, you were just informed about your cover for your book. It was not AI. It was authentic. My bad from last week. Well, that's good news. And you said it looks great. So that's wonderful. That's really good news. Congratulations. So Fitzjoseph's Corner brings up a point saying you've done the research, because I won't know, so I'm just taking your word for it, that there aren't even kids who read manga. I can't believe that's true, but maybe it's maybe young adults and adults read manga. Yeah. It's the art form is just shifting with the same generation and beyond. It's not crossing generations from, you know, my generation to the younger generation, you know. It's kind of strange to think about. We have to keep it into account. George Bear says, remembering my nieces and nephews hitting me up for crazy to keep for gifts to keep buying cell phone cards so they could show off their vacation beach artistic selfies. Yeah, I think that does fall into under this stream, this topic. Yeah, for sure. Samuel Proctor says, this is a topic where I mostly disagree with you, Sound Engraver, but there is a point I think is on your side. These independent comic artists don't have highly developed system of that of old. That and they're just learning their skill, like they're just building their workflow. I think that's a big stage. That's a big stage for being an upcoming musician, a prospective musician, a prospective artist. I think these people who are calling themselves artists or want to be in the artist industry, or maybe even they're hiring artists or whatever to help with their projects, I think they're trying to do it all at once. That's where I'm getting the sense. Now they have know-how and they can analyze the art form they're working in, which is awesome. But to actually put it together in a tangible piece, that's going to take a building of workflow, a building of skills, and a building of workflow. You know, even 10 years ago, even after getting my music education degree, I didn't know how to make electronic music. And now I'm really starting to realize, okay, I have the potential, that potentiality to make a good piece of electronic music, and it still takes time. But it took me 10 years. It took me 10 years. Wait, no. Yeah, 11 years after getting my graduate degree to get to this level. It's just about constant building your skills and constant reassessment. And I think many of these indie artists I think they just want to put it in all at once and get, maybe they want to get better as they go and they're learning as they go. But I would just say kind of dial it back a little bit because you want your first piece, whatever you're putting out there, to be at least engaging, right? At least like nothing lacks, you know? Because there's maybe there I don't know, maybe there are some pieces out there like, oh, I understand your heart, I understand your motive, but you kind of fell short with this, and that's what I don't want for people. I want people to have a nice solid piece of art. Uh, yeah, I kind of have this good example in my head, comparing people who are trying to make stories for kids in a very different age. Okay, this might not be the best example, but I'm just gonna say it anyway since it's the first thing on my mind. Um, I when I went to higher education, when I went to college, the first thing I pursued was a music education degree. And why I wanted to be a music education or get a music education degree was I wanted to be an orchestra director of a top, highly competitive orchestra that goes to all sorts of different festivals and competitions around the state or around the region. Because why? That was my experience. And I also wanted to be an orchestra director, an orchestra teacher, because I was a stellar student because I loved orchestra so much. And I had really good teachers. I had so-so teachers, but I also had really good orchestra teachers myself. And I wanted to be that teacher. And then all up until the point, not even 2 months before graduating, I decided, well, I got the degree, but I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to get my teacher certification because why? I started pursuing a love of music composition. and things like electronic music, and I wanted to explore that a lot more. And I remember having this conversation with my mom. I remember walking in this like third place space, a 2 mile walk from the bus ride, but my bus stop to my house that I was renting, room that I was renting. And I said, Mom, I pursued higher education for 5 years, got a lot of student loans for this, got my music education degree, and then 2 months later, or 2 months before I graduate, I decided I'm not going to get my certification because I had to have a full time semester, like a whole semester of teaching full time. And I decided, no, I'll just get the degree. I don't want the certification. And I asked her, and my mom is so insightful. She's insightful to this day. I bless you all if you have mothers like mine, because my mother is really like the best mom ever. Um, but I was saying, like, why did I spend 5 years in college trying to get this degree, and then I decided not to be a music public school orchestra teacher, you know? And she said, you wanted to be that teacher because you were that student. But now you're starting to see that there were not a lot of students like you. There were a lot of kids who did not like orchestra. There were a lot of kids who couldn't play as well on a string instrument as you could. You thrived in orchestra as a student. You thrived as a violinist. You loved that environment. But now you're seeing not everyone loves what you love. And times that by 50, right? It's like, oh, like one student who loves it and like 50 other students are like, I don't want to be here. I'm not saying that's true of all music orchestra or band students, but that I wanted to be a music teacher because I had great music teachers that I wanted to imitate or emulate or whatever. They were my role models when I was a kid, and I was a star student, at least in orchestra class. I sucked at sports, and I wasn't good at math, but I was a stellar music student. And I thought in my little brain back then, I'm like, well, everyone's like this. And so I'm going to be a teacher of an amazing orchestra with amazing students. And that's just not the reality. You're given a job for whatever school needs you. And you might, dude, there's a school here where we are. I hear horror stories. I'm just like, so what's my point is like, you're like the independent artists are saying, well, I'm going to make this art because my experience as a kid, because every other kid is going to have my experience as a kid. And so I'm kind of going a little meta with this stream, but that's what I was piecing together that analog, like, well, make the art you want to make. That's the first thing. But also consider what might be your audience. Like, who might be your audience? It might be an audience you're not expecting. It might be all adults. Different things like that. All right, let me grab some water. Crystal Ashes says, delayed response on the subject of indie comics creators wanting to make comics for kids. I feel it's more important to make something that's accessible to all age groups. I think that's true. And maybe I'm going to say maybe a lot of people do have that in mind. And I think accessible to all ages. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's just a lot of great comic books out there that I'm reading now that I love, but are also good for a much younger demographic. No, says Fish Choso's Corner. You don't understand. There are hardly any manga suitable for anyone below high school. Well, I don't know anything about manga. So anyone else who who does know, anyone who knows about manga, if that is true, just that's very interesting. Brian Gilmartin says, I know what it's like when you like some Warriors. Was that like since I was one of the relatively small number of Western fans of that series has. Interesting. All right. Crystal Ashes says, I've read and watched things intended for children that are more intelligent and mature than things that are supposedly made for adults. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? I mean, you think of writers like Paul Dini, who had his hand in the comic book space, but he also is incredible he had so much involvement with the DC animated series, and all his episodes are really well written. And the same is true for the Batman games. When he was involved, the writing in the game, not necessarily the gameplay, but the writing in those games are very, very strong because he can write for everyone. It's great. Um, Samuel Proctor says, yeah, most of the time when people say kids' stories, they really mean for all ages, like what Pixar used to do. Well, I mean, I don't follow too many people in this scene, but I have seen people. They're writing comics not for children. That is for sure. And maybe that's probably the right thing to do. Maybe that is the right thing to do. Maybe they just need to write for their age, and maybe they see that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So just kind of as a summation of what I've been thinking about today, and maybe this will probably be most likely explored in the future. Um, the objective, the endeavor that I have personally is to make it the best I can, make my art the best I can, and lose I'm trying to lose. This is just for me. This doesn't have to pertain to you all. But I'm trying to lose that sense of urgency. And it's kind of weird that I'm saying that because it's like no one gets younger. It's not like I have too much. I mean, I hope I have at least 40 or 50 years more on this earth, depending. But I think I need to lose that sense of urgency for myself. Um, eh, and and then just document my process. I have been so actually just before I forget, I have been I'm starting to release videos again, just music videos on my channel. So I released one a few days ago, just the part one of my work in progress, Dusk Among the Dunes. I'm going to release the second part, I think, in like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then I'm actually going to start recording just what I've been into in Super Collider since I've had 8 wonderful lessons. Super Collider, I feel very excited about. Like, I'm seeing the prospects of having taken these lessons. I'm like, oh, now I'm getting very specific on what I want to do with Super Collider. And I'm getting to that point in my artistic stage where it's like I'm getting more and more specific. That's one advantage of having private lessons for anything is you start, like if you have a really good instructor, you start becoming more and more specific with what you want. It does come with age. I think this awareness does come with age because when I try to present it to children, that it's kind of lost on them. I think adults have a little bit more of an understanding of how specific they want to like approach their craft and their skill building and all that. So anyway, let's see. Let me, I think, bring this up, Lance the Film Guy. Manga anime is kind of like its own genre of storytelling. I do agree that manga is not as popular here as it is in Japan. Well, yeah, I mean, according to Fitzjoseph's Corner, it's like no one in Japan is reading manga. So that might be right. I mean, we may have entered that age. I don't believe so, but I don't know. So, yeah, I think I'm probably going to end it there. And I'll just think more deeply on this stuff and probably present it to you at another time, maybe next week. But I had a nice time with you guys. But I think I'm going to end early today, and we'll see you next Wednesday, not Wednesday, next Sunday. And you guys have a really good Labor Day weekend. If you guys are working, I'm right there with you. We'll work together on Labor Day. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and I will catch you later.